Oh, look at that lavender. It's so beautiful.
I know,
Oh,
isn't it?
the colors.
And it's so healthy and vibrant right now. It's
Yeah.
just so nice.
Okay, we
Mhm.
are on.
Okay, can you tell me your name and the date?
Susan Johnson's my name, and today is June 11th, 2013.
Okay, great. You sound good?
Sounds beautiful.
Okay.
Can you tell me when you worked at Edna McGuire?
I came to Edna McGuire in 1995 and 96 year, and taught here until I retired in 2008.
What grade did you teach?
I taught third grade, one of my favorite grades.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you tell me why you were so passionate about the garden? What made you so passionate?
What made me so passionate? Because I could take the curriculum and I could move it into the garden, and I could have the kids they would study something in the classroom, but we could apply it out in the garden. So it was an exciting thing for the kids to do, but for me professionally too, because it meant that I could take the curriculum, could modify it, and could apply it concretely with children. So we would design lessons, for example, when they were studying area and perimeter. I gave them the general concept of what that was, but then we would come out to the garden and we measured the perimeter of their bed that they'd planted lettuce in, or the whole perimeter of the entire garden. So we could take something that was conceptually abstract and move it into the concrete world that they really could understand and play with and modify. I had so many lessons that could be done in the garden that couldn't be done anywhere else. And it was so meaningful for the children, I think, that when they left with a good feeling of having had fun and really learned something important.
Can you tell me some specific experiences that you had in the garden that were special? Any special moments?
Special moments. A special moment would be when Lee Budish, who was one of the wonderful garden angels, who came through and revitalized the garden, one of its iterations of being revitalized. And she would organize in the spring the ladybug release. So all the children from the whole school were invited into the garden, and they were given ladybugs earlier in the day. And you'd see the whole garden filled with children and ladybugs and giggles and laughter and excitement. And then we'd come back out later in the day and they were wondering where all the ladybugs went. And they had ladybugs crawling all over them and under them, and they were under leaves, and they'd find them, later on in the week. And it was one of those really special aha moments of joy in the garden.
That's great. So what do you think of the garden being under construction and our new garden coming?
And the change
And the change.
that's happening. The third grade curriculum was called, for the social studies part, was called continuity and change. And that concept really applies to what has happened with this garden. When you think to its history of when it was first created, it was one thing. It continued through the school being closed, the school being reopened, through the changes of survival that Susan Reynolds and the staff did to make sure that the garden continued to exist, to the reiterations when Suzanne Frazier was here and working in the garden, when Lee Budish came through and she again revitalized the garden. And every time there's a change, there's growth. And that's what a garden is. So my feeling about what's happening with the garden now is certain sadness to see parts of it kind of moving in a different direction, but it's always been good. And new energy comes out of whatever those changes are. So I look at it in that way. I think new things are coming, and I think that what's good about the garden will continue, and change will bring new good things for it.
Great.
Okay.
Can you tell me about the circle?
Oh, it's so special. When I would bring children to the garden, I'd stand in the garden, and one of the things that I was supposed to teach was directionality. because we also had to relate it to the science curriculum. So directionality fit with teaching about the solar system, about the universe, and where they were, their place in the universe. So I'd come to the garden, and I always wanted something that I could use to teach this idea of sense of place. And I always said, I wish there was a compass rose in the garden. And that's what the gift became. So I would come to the garden, bring children, and have them stand here and find north and south and east and west and really locate where they were in the garden. And whenever we go back to the classroom, I'd say, now find where north is. Well, it's where the garden is in relationship to the classroom that they were in. So it was something that really brought them here. And when the compass rose was given to us, it was one of the most sentimentally sweet things that have ever been a gift of great joy.
Any other questions? You good?
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Is there anything else you wanted to add, or any stories, any people you want to
Stories?
mention, or?
I give some credit to some people who are very special to the garden. One of our superintendents, John Harder, declared that this school, Edna McGuire, as the garden school. And with that, it meant that we could design all of our curriculum and relate it to the garden. And that gave us the freedom to use it in a way that was appropriate and connect it to our curriculum. Janie Teitelbaum, who when I first worked in the district, I worked at another school. And she said, Susan, you have to come to Edna McGuire. It's a wonderful place. You will love the garden. And she was right. Certainly Suzanne Frazier, Susan Reynolds, Lee Budish, Sayer, who came afterwards, and people who have just jumped in and continued the livelihood of the garden. Those are people.
I'm curious, because Janie Teitelbaum mentioned No Child Left Behind, and once that was instituted, there were a couple of changes to the curriculum with relation to the garden. How did that affect you, or how did you feel like that? Was there an effect because of this No Child Left Behind Act?
Well, I think that it required that that we think creatively. We would have staff development that was related to the garden, but the staff development also connected to all of the standards that we were required to teach. The nice thing about Mill Valley has been that we have the standards and we have the curriculum, but we've been given the opportunity to be creative and teach those standards in ways that are appropriate to our students. Because we always do our curriculum in a way that reaches our students. It's not a boilerplate kind of experience when you have children and you're teaching. It's just very creative, and what they bring to their learning, we hope we match that and encourage more. The garden allows that, and it not only allows it, it encourages it. So that's what I say is so special about the garden.
We're good?
Good?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Super.
Yay!